Have you ever tried to tell a story and just completely fumbled when you got to the part where you had to say what someone else said? Yeah, we all have. It's something we do every single day. So in this explainer, we're going to get you comfortable with reported speech so you can share those conversations perfectly every single time. Let's dive in.
Okay, to kick things off, let's start with something super simple. Here's our friend, Tom. And Tom says, "I like ice cream." Easy enough, right? Notice the quotation marks. Those are his exact words. We call this direct speech.
Now, picture this. You walk into the next room and your friend asks, "Hey, what did Tom say?" Are you going to repeat it exactly like a robot? Probably not. You're going to report what he said. And that simple act is exactly what we're going to master right now. So, let's get down to it. What is reported speech really? Well, it's all about getting the meaning of what someone said across without having to use their exact word-for-word quote.
This slide lays it all out perfectly, side by side. On the left, you've got direct speech, "I like ice cream." And on the right, the reported speech version, "Tom said that he liked ice cream." You see the changes, right? The quotation marks disappear, we often add the word that, the pronoun I flips to he, and, this is the big one, the verb like changes to liked.
That little change from liked to liked is where the magic happens. It's the most important rule in reported speech, and we call it the backshift. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a grammatical time machine. When you're talking about something that was said in the past, you usually have to take the verb and shift it one step back in time.
And here's the most common shift you're going to see. If someone says something in the present tense, like "I am listening," you just bump it back to the past tense. It becomes "he said he was listening." Same with our ice cream example. "I like ice cream" becomes "he said he liked ice cream." See? Just one simple step back in our time machine. So, you're probably wondering, what happens if the original thing they said was already in the past? Well, we just take another step back. The simple past, like "I bought a car," gets shifted back to the past perfect. He had bought a car. And the past continuous, "I was watching," becomes the past perfect continuous. He had been watching a movie. It's a really consistent rule.
Now, it's not just the main verbs that do this little time travel dance. Your modal verbs, those helpful little verbs like will and can, they backshift too. So will becomes would, can turns into could, may becomes might, and must usually shifts to had to.
But here's a little tip so you don't get tripped up. Some of these modal verbs are kind of already in their past form, so they just stay put. Verbs like could, should, and might don't change at all. You just report them as they are. Easy! Okay, so we've got the hang of reporting statements. But, people don't just make statements. They ask questions, they give commands. How in the world do we report those? Let's check it out. Reporting a command is actually way easier than it sounds. It's just a two-step process. First, you use a verb like told or asked. Then, and this is the key, you take the command verb and change it to its infinitive form. That's just to plus the verb. So if someone yells, "Go to bed," it becomes, "He told me to go to bed." See? Simple. When it comes to questions, there are basically two types. For WH questions, the ones that start with who, what, where, why, the question word stays. But look closely, the word order changes. What are you doing becomes what I was doing. It's not a question anymore. For yes-no questions, it's a bit different. We need to add the word if or whether. So, do you like chocolate becomes, he asked me if I liked chocolate.
We are so close. We've got the tenses and the sentence types down. The very last thing we need to do is what I call the final polish. It's all about changing the little words so the sentence makes sense from your point of view right now.
This is just common sense when you think about it. If someone said, "Let's meet here tomorrow," and you're telling your friend about it a week later somewhere else, saying here and tomorrow makes no sense, so we have to update them. Now usually becomes then, today becomes that day, yesterday becomes the day before, and here becomes there. This slide is your perfect cheat sheet for that.
And of course, the pronouns. This one is huge. If Tom says, "I love my job," and you report it as, "Tom said, I love my job," well, now you're talking about yourself. You have to shift the perspective. So I becomes he or she, we becomes they, my becomes his or her, and so on. You've got to make sure the right person is doing the talking.
All right, that was a lot of rules, I know. But the best way to make it all stick is to actually put it into practice. So let's try a few together. What do you say? Okay, first one's on the screen. John said, "I love this town." Now take a second. Think about the three things that need to change here: the pronoun, the verb tense, and that little word this. How would you say it?
Did you get it? The answer is, John said that he loved that town. We switched I to he, we backshifted love to loved, and we changed this to that. Nailed it!
Okay, round 2. Let's try a command this time, and a negative one, just to make it interesting. He said, "Don't worry." How do we report that? Remember that 2-step rule?
And the answer is, he told me not to worry. We use our reporting verb, told, and then the negative command becomes not to plus the verb. He told me not to worry. Perfect.
All right, last one. Let's do a question. Where is the post office, she asked. Now for this one, pay really close attention to the word order at the very end of the sentence.
And the correct answer is, she asked where the post office was. Did you catch that? We didn't say, where was the post office? The verb gets kicked to the end because it's not a direct question anymore. It's a statement about a question. That's a super important detail.
So there you have it. You've basically mastered the grammatical time machine of taking speech and shifting it into the past. But I'm going to leave you with one last little brain teaser. What if someone says something that is still true, like a scientific fact? If your teacher says the Earth is round, do you have to report it as she said the Earth was round? Or can some things stay in the present? Something to think about.